So since Disney Plus has been released to Ireland on the 24th of March, and well, I wanted to make you guys something, in these times, here's a new thing I'll be doing. Now, if you know my oldest content, you'll know that my content for a while was more Simpsons themed than, well, Sonic the Hedgehog. Despite how bad those early reviews of season 28 and 29 episodes of the show were, it did show that there was one thing in these reviews, me enjoying The Simpsons in general, not just the classic episodes, but the modern episodes as well. Well, most of them. This was the first show I ever watched and adored. The humor, the characters, the animation, the stories have always had a special part of my life. If it wasn't for The Simpsons, I bet I wouldn't be here and be who I am today. So to celebrate this, I'm doing a season-by-season retrospective. Now, I know someone's gonna say I'm just copying the Rule Jim's with his Simpsons retrospective as well, but instead of how he does it, I'm doing the reviews of all the episodes of this season in a video. Well, for this one at least, it's going to be short since season 1 of The Simpsons only has 13 instead of the usual 20 to 26 amount that the later seasons would have. But given how season 1 seems to have the most difficult production development compared to others, it makes sense that the crew would have to build this world up and work around some, well, rough edges, like the animation and voices. Don't get me wrong, the animation was good, and it was mainly the secondary characters that had the odd voice, if you don't count Homer, but I can understand why season 1 has been the turn-off point when it comes to some, when they're used to seasons 2 to 9. Another that season 1 was also the only season where Mr. Buns wasn't voiced by Harry Shearer, he was voiced by Christopher Collins, which he does a good job, but left to work on his own comedy career, but died in 1994. Hell, instead of a roasting on an open fire, the pilot was meant to be some enchanting evening, but due to how badly animated and edited the episode was, the crew decided to delay it, otherwise they were already going to call crits on the show as it is.
I feel sorry for us in retrospect.
I'd cancel the show now.
Gee whiz, man.
Lordy,
I mean, this is some metaphor for something. I mean, there is a way for our spiritual renewal if we just get the right message from this.
Yeah, they don't even obey the laws of physics. It's amazing.
Well, he's extremely so Fred Flintstone kind of.
Gee whiz.
Well, it's a good thing it did change. Now, how this be handled will be like this. I will list out all the episode's plot first, and then I'll go to how I felt about the episode. Also, for episodes that had major characters introduced in, I will list out who made their first appearance in there, and then for the guest stars, I will list them out too. Trust me, the later episodes will go crazy compared to the early seasons. So with that, let's get this started. Get your donuts and Duff beer. This is going to be one hell of a ride.
There's no time to be careful. We're late.
It's a not-so-merry Christmas for the Simpsons when Mr. Burns decides to cut the Christmas bonuses, and Marge has to spend their family Christmas savings to erase up that tattoo Bart thought would make a great Christmas present. In order to hide the fact he didn't get his bonus, Homer takes a second job as a mall Santa.
And what would you like, little boy?
You're not really Santa, Tubby.
Why, you little...
No, Homer.
Given that this is where The Simpsons first started off from, it's no question that this episode's a classic. It does a good job introducing the Simpsons family to us, for those who don't even know about the shorts from the Tracy Ullman Show until now. It gives us what we know just by the script. Bart being the mischievous one, Homer being dumb yet well-meaning father, Marge being the nagging mother, and Lisa being the smart kid. One thing that season 1 does, however, that's different from the later seasons is how it's more based in reality. Like how Homer acts when he realizes that the family doesn't have money for the Christmas presents, walks outside and walks to his house, then to the Flanders' house, and just puts his head down in sadness. It just gives you what Homer is thinking and feeling without saying a word of dialogue, or even having a bit of music playing over it. Also, the episode shows how the Simpsons are being so poor that a dog in the racetracks will do a great Christmas present instead. Something the show kinda forgets about after a while and let the Simpsons do whatever with money. Jokes-wise, it keeps things simple with more showing off the characters' traits that we expect from them, such as Homer's stupidity and Bart's attitude. So overall, Simpsons Roasting on Open Fire is a classic and should be remembered for making the show happen. At least it will be one of the few Season 1 episodes that people have a soft spot for. For characters introduced, well, we got a lot to go through, so let's make this quick. We have Skinner, Diddy Largo, Moe, Barney, Burns, Ned, Todd, Milhouse, Sad's Little Helper, Smithers doing an off-camera appearance, Abe, Patty, and Selma. Whew, that's a lot. I get a feeling this will be bigger as the episodes go.
I still have a job to do. Hey, little one, Santa's back. Ho, ho, yo!
And sometimes even the best sheep stray from the flock and need to be hugged extra hard.
That's exactly the kind of crapola that's lousing him up. Hey, look at this. I am a wiener. It sure is.
Bart cheats on an intelligence test and is declared a genius. So he's sent to a school for gifted children. Though he intentionally enjoys being treated as a genius, he begins to see the downside of his new life.
This aptitude test we administered this morning has revealed that the young Bart here is what we call a gifted
A
child.
what?
Your son is a genius, Mr. Simpson.
Bart?
This lunkhead?
Impossible.
No, we're quite certain. The child is not supposed to know his own IQ, of course, but you can see it's beyond the range of any doubt.
912?
No, you have it upside down. It's 216.
Oh.
Being that this is the first Bart-centered episode, I goes to quick to show that Bart wasn't all about the pranks. As it does have Bart caring for Homer, and wants to show that he really wants to make him proud of being a genius. It also has an odd moment where Marge brings them to an opera show and Homer and Bart mess around in their usual way. But then what's odd about it is that Lisa also joins in and messes around with them, leaving Marge the only one who's upset and embarrassed by their actions.
Who's the Lord Butt?
He's a bullfighter. No way a bull's gonna miss a target that big, man.
Who are those people?
I guess it did show that Lisa did have a childish side compared to the later episodes, which is, granted, nice to see. I gotta give the big praises to Bart and Homer, as the episode really does work with their relationship and how Dan and Nancy just really work well with each other. There are moments where most of the jokes come in. Kind of the episode itself is light on jokes. Stuff as Homer's "nothing's wrong" kissing with his son, I hope line, the opera scene and Homer's facial expressions when he was trying to get Bart at the end. I don't mind the episode has a lack of jokes if there's a good story in place or good character moments to make up for it. And I think Bart the Genius does a good job. Not the season's strongest episode, but still a good episode nevertheless. Which is good to see, because if this was the episode that failed on them, well, we wouldn't have The Simpsons as we are now, so you gotta give Bart the Genius that for keeping the series going.
You kissed me.
Well, there's nothing wrong with a father kissing his son. I think.
Characters introduced in this episode are Ebba Kabable, Martin Prince, Lauren J. Lowell, and Miss Mellon. It also features the first guest stars with Mitchell Wallace as both Edna and Mrs. Mellon, and Wesley Taylor as Martin. This will be the first episode to have the full-on opening and the couch gags.
Son, if you don't come out, I can't hug you and kiss you and make you feel all better.
You think I'm dumb enough to fall for that? I'm insulted.
Dear family, I am an utter failure, and you'll be better off without me. By the time you read this, I will be in my watery grave. I can only leave you with the words my father gave me. Stand tall, have courage, and never give up. I only hope I can provide a better model in death than I did in life. Warmest regards, love. Homer J. Simpson.
Homer is fired from his job as a technical supervisor at the Springfield nuclear power plant. Unable to provide his family, he contemplates ending it all until he discovers a new pet as a companion for safety.
All right, who's responsible for this? I might have known it was you, Simpson.
But sir,
I don't want to hear about it, Simpson. You're fired. Oh, hi, girl.
I think out of all the episodes of the season, hell, the whole show in general, this is the worst animation of the series and season, particularly in crowd scenes. Like, man, what is up with those faces? Like other episodes, it's oddly weird to watch Homer actually seem to care about his job, as it's the episode that gives Marge Homer's work under the safety inspector after the two previous episodes, just having him do regular work in the plant. And like Bart the Genius, I think the story does a better job than the humor for the episode, as there isn't as many jokes in this. However, in comparison, the story isn't as strong as the last episode. It starts off with Bart with the first act, and then the second act goes with Homer from there. I'll give it that it shows the most defeated Homer has ever been on how he can't get a job, and think he won't support the family. The suicide point is odd for it to go for Homer, and notice how Homer struggles to carry a boulder to a bridge, and yet when his family is about to get hit by a moving truck, Homer just runs like Sonic the Hedgehog and saves the family with a rope and a boulder in his body.
boy, this intersection is dangerous. Someone ought to put a stop sign here.
So overall, I think it's okay. It does have its moments, but it does have a bigger lack of humor compared to other episodes, which I can't blame people for not being a fan of. Characters introduced in this episode are Sherry and Terry, Wendell, Otto, Riggum, Jasper, and the visual appearance of Smithers, who's mistakenly colored black. Don't worry, this won't be the only time this will happen in the season.
You're not as stupid as you look, or sound, or our best testing indicates. You've got the job. Now get to work.
I'll get to work. But first, I have to say goodbye to some friends.
Hi, friends. I'm Dr. Marvin Monroe. Does this scene look familiar? If so, I can help. No gimmicks, no pills, no fad diets. Just family bliss or double your money back. So call today.
Dr. Marvin Monroe's Family Therapy Center. 1-800-555-HUGS. Why don't you call right now?
After an embarrassing experience at the company's picnic, Homer begins to wonder if his family is too dysfunctional. Homer, Marge, Bart, Lisa, and Maggie attend a family therapy session with Dr. Marvin Monroe, an orthodox psychologist who uses shock therapy to cure them.
Wait a minute. These mallet things are padded with foam rubber. What's the point?
They'd work much better without the padding, Doc.
No, that's not true.
See?
Give me that.
If there's one episode of Season 1 that shows you how the characters acted differently than they do now, that would be There's No Disgrace Like Home. Reason why? Homer's the one acting worried over the image of the family, and this is after the company picnic from Mr. Burns. He makes them eat in the table like a family and checks through other families' windows to see how they should be liked. I know that has said some elements of the previous that would have made it different by now, but this is like episodes like something completely different today. I guess it makes sense as it was the earliest episode to be chosen of the season, as Lisa acts more like she did in the Tracy Ullman show, and Marge is the only one getting drunk and causes issues for the family. Bart's the only character who is still in character, which isn't hard, I suppose. Now, the humor is better here than the others, as even by the fourth episode, they were making fun of the show's history with the whole frosty chocolate milkshakes thing the shorts were known for. Even Bart the Genius mentioned this. And also the whole electric shock part is easily the most known part of not only this episode, but the whole season. I can't deny it is a good moment. Personally, it's a good episode in my opinion, but it's not the best of the show's one. The out-of-character moments with Homer, Marge, and Lisa should be noticed to how this show is compared to now, so give it a watch if you really want to see the earliest point of the show's development. Characters introduced in this episode are Dr. Mom McGraw, Itchy and Scratchy, Lou, and Eddie. Kind of like with Smithers, however, Lou was not in the right color as he has yellow skin and not brown in the later episodes. With that said, Smithers also had his character fixed. Still not fully like the later episodes, but slow and steady wins the race here.
Bart, how could you shock your little sister?
My finger slipped.
So did mine.
Bart, Lisa, stop that.
No. No, wait a minute. Wait. Folks, if I could... No, this is not the way to get healthy!
Nelson, you're bleeding.
Nah, happens all the time. Somebody else's blood splatters on me. Hey, wait a minute. You're right. You made me bleed my own blood.
After defending Lisa from the school bully Nelson months, Bart becomes Nelson's latest school bullying target. Sick of the harassment and torment, Bart, Abraham Simpson, and Herman rally the children around the town to fight back against the Nelson and his cronies. This is kind of the first episode of the season to really have the elements that we would know later from the show, such as the references and parodies. While not going insane with the references, there are a lot more parodies of scenes from different movies in this episode, particularly war films. Given the episode's main plot is about Bart having a bully, you could imagine a basic episode of Homer and Marge telling Bart what to do and how to be seen bullying and how we should be handled. But I'm kind of glad it goes with Grandpa instead to get some help with Herman, as this gets the situation a new angle and have it where all the kids fight against Nelson.
Hello, sir. Mr. Herman?
Yes?
Did you lose your arm in the war?
My arm? Well, let me put it this way. Next time your teacher tells you to keep your arm inside the bus window, you do it.
Yes, sir, I will.
Being that this is Nelson's first episode, they also make him the usual bully character and don't use this ha-ha just yet. I also don't know why Nelson has these other two kids around him, if by the later episodes he's just going to be alone until Jimbo, Kearney, and Dolph will be added later, but whatever, dude. The fantasy sequences were the best highlight of the episode, as it gives the animation these nightmares that Bart has a lot more interesting, from the fight he has with Nelson, and the weapons he uses that barely makes an impact, and the funeral scene with how Otto, Marge, and Lisa, being the only ones, are saddened over Bart's death. Also, for Herman's first and only real big appearance, it's kind of showed that he has a bit of a crazy side to him, even Bart points out to Abe, and he makes that as a positive. Given what Herman would do later on, this would be the only time I think he will ever be good to the Simpsons family. The ending also does kind of feel odd with the Bart speech, which just kind of feels a bit weird, and probably the biggest outdated thing about the season. I guess you had to add some form of lesson from the FCC's thing in the 90s. Overall, I did like this episode, and it did lay the seeds for what The Simpsons will be known for later and have some good moments. The only characters introduced in this episode are Nelson and Herman, so at least it's very short in comparison.
Let's go next group. Martinez, Steinberg, O'Hara, Chang, Olajuwon, Herman.
Die.
Thanks, Mr. Murphy.
My friends call me Bleeding Gums.
Ew, how'd you get a name like that?
Well, let me put it this way. You ever been to the dentist?
Yeah?
Not me. I suppose I should go to one.
Lisa meets a new friend, Bleeding Gums Murphy, a jazz musician who helps us cope with the blues. Meanwhile, Bart and Homer duke it out in a video game boxing. So I had mentioned that Bart Genius and Homer's Odyssey for having the story doing more for me than its humor. Morning Lisa is the best episode of the season for having its story doing better than its humor, being that it is the first episode of the series to mainly focus on Lisa, and it surely stood out for showing the deeper side of Lisa. Later episodes would give her a reason why she would be down or depressed. This one, however, just goes to the fact that Lisa is just questioning life and the cruelty of the world. Having people like Mr. Largo go after Lisa for trying to be creative, and Homer's real first case of dislike towards Lisa's saxophone. Having people like Marge and Bleeding Gums Murphy giving Lisa some form of help of letting her be who she wants to be. Bleeding Gums in particular, however, they were clever enough to have him say he can't really fix Lisa's problems, but just gives her a way to let the blues come out. It would have been way easier to make him the person who fixes all of Lisa's problems, but luckily they're kind of realistic and saying, this guy can't help either, but he's giving a suggestion either way.
I'm so lonely since my baby left me. I got no money and nothing is free.
While watching the episode, I kind of have a Homer's enemy feel to it, especially its subplot about Homer and Bart playing the fighting video game. The main reason why is that it's a way to let the episode have some light moments in a serious episode, similar to the subplot to Homer's enemy. It also has some good animation with an attempt at capturing the look of video games, with Homer's nightmare scene being the highlight of that. But there's two things I think this episode works best with. One is animation. Outside of the video game stuff, when Lisa heads out at the dead of night, it's beautifully animated with its dark blue moon lighting mixing with Lisa and Murphy's duet. Another thing is his music. I'm not so into jazz music, but this episode really has showed that these can be really catchy. From the duet with Murphy's ending song and the episode's end credits, it really wants to make you tap your fingers on your chair. Humor-wise, it's not strong here, but in this episode's case, I can forgive it. Because of its story and emotional development for Lisa, really works well. Really like this episode. Characters introduced in this episode are Bleeding Gums Murphy and Jalisco Bullet, making their first appearance. Chagrette only really has a flashback appearance, so we don't get fully into the dry and emotionless side of her character just yet. I guess Ralph also gets introduced here, but it's a very early take on the character, however. Guest star Royal Taylor as Bleeding Gums Murphy.
This next song was written by a friend of mine, one of the great little ladies of jazz. I got this bratty brother. Bugs me every day. And this morning my own mother gave my last cupcake away. My dad acts like he belongs, y'all. He belongs in the zoo.
What?
I'm the saddest kid in grade number 2.
What do you think? Should we stop here?
Yes!
Alrighty. Well, here we are.
It's a camping misadventure for the Simpsons. First, they're lost in the woods and lose all their camping equipment. Bart and Homer try to get help, but are washed down a waterfall and lose all their clothes. Meanwhile, Maggie meets up with some bears while Homer's confused for Bigfoot after he goes into a mud pile. The Call of the Simpsons is a cute episode. It has the Simpsons go outside of Springfield in a not a major way, but still pretty at least important to note. It mainly has 3 points of view from the family. Homer and Bart looking around and having the world's crap on them, mainly Homer. Lisa and Marge, who have a peaceful moment together, and Maggie having an adorable story with bears. The situations Homer and Bart go through is mainly what the jokes come in, like them trying to get food but only launches a rabbit far away, and their moments in the dialogue.
What are we gonna do, hang ourselves?
No! This is a trap. It's gonna catch us our dinner. Come on, boy. Shh. Just watch. Ooh. Aha! Got him!
This is, I believe, to be the first episode to show off the crazier side of The Simpsons when it's animation, and the stuff that Bart and Homer go through could really work in animation only. Before that, however, I think the episode shines best during its first act, because how they go into more of the whole Homer getting jealous of Ned and Flanders' success part of his character, and Bob's VR roundup part is easily the best part of the episode, as Albert Brooks' charm and acting worked very well from the very beginning, as it is the first episode to feature him as a guest star in a series, and it sure won't be the last one of the season.
How much is it?
You're a man of your convict. You just wanted to ask that and blurted it out, didn't you?
Yeah, how much is it?
Well, first of all, I want you to know I like your face.
You do?
I really do. I'm not saying that. I mean it. You got color in there. You're not Roman, are you?
No.
Look like a god, sort of. Why don't we step into the credit office, Zeus? Hey, your dad's gonna just go in here, work it out, and then you'll drive home in this.
The whole Bigfoot chain is kind of the weakest part about the episode, despite the fact having the media satire in there, which is the first episode to do so, and, well, you gotta lay those seeds somehow, so at least it's a alright start for it. So overall, it's a pretty decent episode for the season. Not amazing, but a good try to let the crazier side of The Simpsons out. This only marks the first episode to introduce this. The episode introduces Walt Flanders and Cowboy Bob, and the guest stars are Albert Brooks as Cowboy Bob.
What am I gonna do? I've murdered us all! I've murdered us all! I've murdered us all! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Don't! Oh, don't! You know, Bart, when I was your age, I pulled a few boners. But I think you'll find that people are pretty decent if you give them half... Oh, look! There it is! The head!
Bart Simpson cuts off Jebediah Springfield's statue's head to be cruel to some bullies, but the whole town gets angry and starts looking for the vandal. This is why I think the episode where the animation and characters start to really take shape, as it fixes a lot of character designs for characters such as Moe, Smithers, Barney, and more, as well features some locations such as the Cricky Mart in downtown Springfield. The episode is pretty chill with itself, but particularly the first act just mainly has it where Bart is just relaxing with the teens, which, speaking of which, it is rather nice to see Jimbo, Kearney, and Dolph be cool with Bart, but do the normal teenager teasing each other part of, what teenagers are. The second act has some good moments where, compared to its later episodes, Bart is being scared of even telling anyone about cutting their head off. I do admit the whole Homer and Bart angle isn't as strong as other episodes, but it at least shows that Homer stays strong with Bart after getting chased by the other citizens.
'Cause I wanted some really bad kids to like me. Somehow I got the idea that being popular was the most important thing in the world.
Where did you get a ridiculous idea like that?
Lay off the boy, Marge. He's a good kid. Quit giving him the third degree.
Homer, did you have something to do with this?
Well, maybe I am a little responsible.
A little?
Come on, son. Let's take the head thing back to the authorities.
Jokes-wise, it's decent. It does, however, contain my favorite Homer quote of the season at the very end. Dan's delivery just sells it so well. And also the animation for the crowd did get better here than Homer's Odyssey. Still not perfect, but a clear improvement. I should, however, point out that this episode is the only one from the season that have a completely different ending aired in some cases, including Disney Plus, which was how I was able to find this out.
Well, that's my story. And if you still want to tear apart this young Sunday school student as he stands on the brink of salvation, I await your wrath.
Somehow I don't feel like killing anymore.
Neither do I.
Forgive me, sir.
No problem, Bart.
Look, it's glorious.
It's beautiful, man.
I love you, Smithers.
The feeling is more than mutual, sir.
Good going, son. But remember, most lynch mobs aren't just nice.
Apart this young Sunday school student as he stands on the brink of salvation, I await your wrath. But I'd like to add one thing. It wasn't until I removed the head of Jebediah Springfield that we realized we were taking our heritage for granted. That was a crime, too. One I think we are all guilty of.
Yeah, the kid's got us there.
Got a point there. And I know that I'll always feel an inner shame far greater than any punishment you could dish out. Far, far greater. Far, 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 far greater.
Somehow I don't feel like killing anymore.
Neither do I.
Forgive me, sir.
No problem, Bart.
It's glorious. It's beautiful. I love you, Smithers.
The feeling is more than mutual, sir.
Oh boy, there's a lot of characters to introduce in this episode, as there's Reverend Lovejoy, Krusty the Clown, Jimbo Jones, Kearney, Duff, Mrs. Albert, Apu, and Keck Brockman. Sideshow Bob also makes his first appearance in this episode, but has a very silent appearance and the fastest redesign of an old episode that I have ever seen. Like, seriously, it's impressive on how fast they just, changed the design of Sideshow Bob so quickly.
Good going, son. But remember, most lynch mobs aren't just nice.
I'm awfully sorry.
Entirely my fault. It is nice to meet you, Homer.
Oh, no. Homer is my ball's name. I'm Marge.
Homer buys Marge a bowling ball for her birthday, but she accuses him for only buying it for himself. True, right down to the point where Homer's engaging on the ball. Despite him, Marge begins to learn how to bowl, helped by Chuck, who she becomes very attached to. Homer expects something when Chuck invites Marge to his apartment, but Marge changes her plan and then goes to the power plant to see her husband instead. Since this is the first episode to start the marriage crisis for Homer and Marge, I was a bit surprised that this is one of the best ones during the whole series. Main reason why is because it focuses on all the family in some form rather than just one or two, and also it mainly focuses on Marge a lot, but Homer, Bart, Lisa, and Maggie do have some part of the episode to have some crisis. Homer only finds out something is up when he finds a wrist guard that Chuck gave to Marge. Instead of getting mad and trying to find Marge or even Chuck, Homer's just emotionally dead about it. Hell, Homer never meets Chuck at all during this episode, which is a bit odd, but it works just because of how Homer is so defeated by the thought of this. Bart and Lisa also have their own bit as well with the 5 stages of grief.
Simpson checks the runner on first. He's cool, he's fine. Here's the windup, and here's the pitch. Huh. Dad, you didn't even say ouch.
Oh, sorry. Ouch.
But what makes this episode work is Marge and Shock's interaction with each other, and how Brooks and Julia Kango just work so well together. In fact, there were some points of scenes where were improvised by Brooks and Julia, and they really worked so well.
Yes, I am a very good teacher, and I can teach you everything. I can tell you what the little arrows on the wood floor mean. Which frame is the beer frame. I bet you don't know how to make a 5-7-10 split, do you, Marge?
No.
Well, first of all, you yelled, the 8-pin is a cup. Let it out, Marge. Laugh loud. Laugh out loud. You'll lose weight.
Oh, that's very funny.
Shock is an odd character though, as while wonderfully voiced by Brooks, I can't tell if he actually does love her or is just using his charm to have a one-off with Marge. The ending is also good on how Marge has to make the decision to go with either to go to the nuclear power plant or to Shock's apartment. And the parody of an officer and a gentleman is the best way to end the episode for its use of a parody. Also love that Homer only lasts 10 minutes during sex, apparently.
Hey, what'll I tell the boss?
Tell him I'm going to the back seat of my car with a woman I love, and I won't be back for 10 minutes.
So yeah, I think it's my third favorite episode of the season thanks to Marge and Shock. Characters introduced in this episode are Shock, Lenny, and my least favorite character, Helen Lovejoy. Well, at least they make it quick. There'll be the one time I'll agree with Shock. Let's hope something runs are over. As a guest star, Albert Brooks as Shock.
See you in church on Sunday, Marge.
Goodbye, Helen.
Goodbye, Helen. You have a lovely friend there. Let's hope something runs over her.
I'm sorry, I don't usually laugh like this. Oh, this is the most fun I've ever had in my life.
Marge purchases a spy camera during the catalog, and Homer goes to a stag party at a local restaurant. The rest of the family also go to the restaurant coincidentally, and Bart snatches a picture of Homer dancing with a belly dancer named Princess Jasmine. Soon all of Springfield sees the picture and Marge orders him out of the house. Homer takes Bart to the restaurant to explain how he shouldn't take advantage of women. Another mattress crisis just after one? No, not quite. While it does have its a point where Homer gets in trouble with Marge and she kicks him out of the house for the first time, but rather than showing that Homer has fallen in love or cheated with Charisma, it just shows that Homer's just goofing off and enjoying his time. But also from Marge's point, she's mad of Homer of the fact that he's giving Bart the impression that women are just sex objects and wants to show him that women are just human and should be treated right. I do find the fact at first Bart just keeps this whole situation a secret and just gives it to Milhouse since he's his best friend and all, but when Milhouse spreads the picture and Lewis comes up and asks Bart for a copy, instead of just thinking, how did he find out about it, Bart just kind of goes, okay, and gives him a copy which just spreads around Springfield. The first act does a good job of showing the ideas that Bart would do with a spy camera. I did laugh, however, for during 6 months, Bart has been at the lady mail carrier with, "Where's my spy camera?" However, somehow she hasn't broke over a month of this, let alone 6 of them.
Lady, where's my spy camera? Where's my spy camera? Where is my spy camera, lady?
6 months.
Where is my spy camera?
Where's my spy camera?
Where's my spy camera?
Here's your stupid spy camera!
Oh, thanks, man.
While I do find the message basic, it is still an important lesson to learn about how women should be treated, and showing Holmes' love for Marge and preferring to be with the one he loves than just a random one-off woman. It's still a lesson I think we should be told by today. But overall, a pretty okay episode of the season. Not the best, not the worst. Characters introduced in this episode are Princess Jasmine, and I guess Gilbert Dark because he would later appear in Who Shot Mr. Burns Part 2. Guest star, Sam McClory as Gillian Dark.
I could love a million girls, every girl a twin. Yeah, I could love a Chinese girl, an Eskimo or Finn. I could take a Deutschland chick, a girl with golden curls. In fact, I think that we could love about a million girls.
How much longer, sir? This is where we're going, right? Chateau Marson.
Ah, Maurice, dès que le garçon américain arrive, tes jeux d'esclavage sont finis.
Ew, what a dump.
When Bart flushes a cherry bomb down the toilet, Principal Skinner suggests he should take in the foreign exchange scheme. Bart ends up in France working for some crooks who wants to put an antifreeze in wine. Meanwhile, back in Springfield, Alain Horax, an Armenian boy, is exchanged to the Simpsons to receive a scheme, showing an interest in the power plant, and sends information back to the Albanian government. With this being the first travel episode of the series, you can tell that the crew was extremely careful on how this would set up for the stay of the Simpsons family with their money, and used the foreign exchange program to let it happen without costing the Simpsons a single cent. Compared to the later episodes of Paris and other places and even later takes of Paris, this one is fairly simple with the way it does it, as you don't see Bart mess around with the citizens and landmarks of France. The most you get is France is with the Chandler Manson. Sicko and Lugon are good cartoony villains as they make Bart do almost everything and use him as a test to see if they put too much antifreeze into the wine. Kinda surprised they don't really use these guys more outside of one episode later on in the series.
Now, watch me. You grab the grape between your thumb and forefinger, and gently twist it off, and drop it in the bucket. Now you do it. Very good. Now, do it 1,000,000 times.
The subplot with Al is another thing that happens when Homer actually gets to have a kid who actually calls him dad and has an interest in nuclear power plants. But there's not much to the plot in this one, as supposedly it's just a way to have some time away from Bart and the misery. I guess it's okay. Could have been a stronger subplot, but hey, what are you gonna do?
Idreto het perukat. Perpuli idreto het perukat. Ponekoti metsia.
At consumed jij not nalan forced.
I feel like the first act's the best of this episode because of Bart's cherry bomb in the toilets, and Homer breaking his back after falling down the stairs from Bart's skateboard, and after some time, Santa's little helper, Maggie, and Snowball Tooch slayed by Homer with a Krusty doll slowly losing his batteries with a hey hey. The Skinner part was a good way to set up the exchange program, and I admit, I did like seeing Homer and Skinner both high-five each other in happiness when Bart accepted to go to France. It's not every day we get to see Skinner and Homer have the same fun and enjoyment over something. The point where Bart suddenly speaks French is a bit of an odd point to have, especially since Bart has never learned to speak French in later episodes, but I guess for the third act, you gotta work with what you got to make sure this works. So overall, a good episode of the season, and a decent start to the travel episodes. Characters introduced in this episode: Agnes Skinner, who not only sounds different compared to the later episodes, but also acts more caring towards Skinner compared to the later episodes.
Okay, Mother. This way.
So long, sucker!
Now hold it right there, you... Mother? Good evening again, Springfield. Krusty the Clown, the beloved idol of countless tots, now nothing more than a common, alleged criminal.
No one's sadder than Bart when his TV hero, Krusty the Clown, is arrested for a convenience store robbery, and witness Homer has to then testify against the clown. When the little seeds from Bart the General and the Call of the Simpsons I was talking about, well, this is where those seeds decide to bust out, and the show's true form, as it goes into the TV industry and as well goes with more parodies. The episode in particular really feels like a Season 2 episode than a Season 1 episode. And out of all the episodes, this has been the most referenced episode in the whole season in the later episodes. As well, it was the first spotlight episode on a secondary character, and giving small examples of Krusty's life, giving you what to be known about his character later.
What's that sideshow, Bob? This is Brittany, and today's her birthday? Well, happy birthday, Brittany. How do you want to celebrate?
Do you want me to sing your birthday song? Or do you want me to shoot Sideshow Bob out of a cannon?
His show being a great hit with kids, him selling himself with promotional material, his relationship with Sideshow Bob, and small hints of his adult life with betting tickets, drinking, and his anger towards people. That's when it gives Krusty stuff that the series will take notice, such as him being delivered it and his peacemaker. Yet you can tell the show was still worried to make a full-on episode with just Krusty, so it gives Homer, Bart, and Lisa a moment in the plot. Homer basically kicks the plot off with being in the Quickie Mart and pointing at Krusty, then changes to Bart and Lisa showing their thing for busting mysteries. Also, should have mentioned that I love the animation in this episode, for giving it more interesting shots, and some good ones like when Elf and Lovejoy burns the Krusty products down, Bart's realization on who framed Krusty, and of course when Sideshow Bob is the main focus. Brad Bird always knows how to set up a shot and facial expressions. Speaking of which, this episode is the first one that took Sideshow Bob into what we're used to. This marked the first episode to have Kelsey Grammer as Bob, and from the very beginning, he just nails Bob, and it's great that even after voicing the character for 30 years, he is still as good as he was back in 1990.
I'm glad we finally dispelled the myth that I'm too uptown for the tots. And yet I can't help thinking about poor Krusty.
It also has the character design which we also be used to compared to the art design in the Telltale Head. It's also weird to see Wiggum also doing a lot more work in this episode than he does in the show later on. I guess you gotta start slow. The Mystery Party episode is well handled, and it uses what we learned from Krusty to figure the clues out, and by the time Bob gets into the show himself, it's revealed to us that Bob has done it, but Bart and Lisa has to figure it out, kind of giving us a decent way to let us have a way to see how Bob covers it up from Bart and Lisa. So overall, I think it's personally my favorite episode of the season, and I think where the elements of the show that we are used to took off. Characters introduced in this episode are Sideshow Bob, Scott Christensen, and George Royal Soil, who was also colored yellow instead of brown like glue. Guest star, Kelsey Grammer as Sideshow Bob.
The reason I look unhappy is that tonight I have to see a slideshow starring my wife's sisters. Or as I call them, the gruesome twosome.
Oh, Homer. So, the truth comes out.
The babysitter bandit has left a trail of her daring nighttime robberies across the continental United States. She could be lurking anywhere, about to descend upon another house full of unsuspecting dupes. In a moment, we will show you a picture of the real babysitter bandit, Miss Lucille Botzukowski. Remember, she may be using a clever alias. And should be considered armed and dangerous.
Homer and Marge go out for dinner one night while having Bart, Lisa, and Maggie being watched by a babysitter named Mrs. Boltz. Unbeknownst to the family, however, Boltz is a known wanted bandit for babysitting, and she covers her identity while Homer and Marge spend their time veiling. As said before, this was meant to be the first episode of the series to come out, but was delayed because of the animation being really bad that it had to take 70% of the episode's animation to be redone. And you can tell from the backgrounds and some of the movements of the characters, particularly when Mrs. Boltz tells Bart to watch the little Happy Elves videotape from the way she's animated through it.
I said you're gonna watch this tape, and you're gonna do what I say, or I'm gonna do something to you.
And I don't know what that is, because everybody has always done what I say.
Now, because the fact this is the finale instead of the beginning of the season, there is a question on if this would have worked better as the beginning or not. Well, I feel like there's one reason why this worked better as the finale instead of the beginning of the series. That is because we got familiar with these characters after the 12 episodes of the season. We're used to Homer and Marge's marriage, Bart's pranks, and how the Simpsons in general have caused some big mayhem in Springfield. If this was the first episode, it would have felt a bit weird, to be honest. So I think it helped things out that it took this long for the episode to come out for the season. Outside of that, I think the fixed animation worked for its favor. Given that all five family members are part of the plot, Homer and Marge have the first act with the marriage, while the second focuses on Bart and Lisa slowly discovering Mrs. Bolt's criminal background, and the third act just going all out with Mrs. Bolt's robbing the Simpsons house and giving Aunt Maggie a moment to shine. The episode itself is okay, I guess. It's not really fantastic in some parts of the episode, but no, I kind of give it some exception because of the production cycle. It does take a while for these to come out. So overall, I think it's a pretty good way to end the first season. Guest stars are Penny Mausel as Mrs. Buff, Julia Frey as the receptionist, and Paul Wills as the flowerist. Funny enough, Julia Frey was actually considered to have the most cartoony voice in The Simpsons, so they never actually reused her ever again, making this the only Simpsons episode she has done. And given that she also voices Granny from the Looney Tunes, that's really surprising. Thank you guys for joining me on this. I hope it was worth it. If you guys wanted to see more, tell me below in the comments and I will see what I do for the rest of the series. I will probably start up Season 2 script after this video is up, so when that is, I'll keep you guys informed on when Season 2 comes out. I'll note, however, that Season 2 might be split in 2 parts because, there's like 22 episodes of the season, so I might split it down to 11 episodes in one part and another 11 in another. So yeah, that's about it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thank you guys for watching.